In my last video, I discussed the origins of Universal Controller Fix. Back when the Melee community agreed to adopt a software mod in 2017, there were plenty of implications that came with that decision. The need to fully flesh out UCF's implications is now at an all-time high given the ongoing controller legality discussions. These discussions have generally been aimed at nerfing the box, which I believe is the wrong approach. I say this because UCF is an equally important part of the discussion and is currently incomplete. Thus, I believe the current priority should be fixing the Gamecube controller in all of the appropriate ways. I've been working to steer this discussion in the right direction by creating the 1.03 controller fix with Altimor. The 1.03 controller fix expands on UCF by polishing its wiggle and shield drop fixes while adding much needed 1.0 cardinal and dash out of crouch fixes. There's also another fix that I've yet to cover until today. A hot topic in the community as of late has been SDI. Swift's performance at Summit brought attention to the fact that the box's SDI is visibly better than the Gamecube controllers. Top players like Fiction pointed out that the box clearly has an easier time inputting full magnitude SDI. People like Practical Task then suggested a solution that involved limiting the box by macroing its cardinals to produce a weaker value on frame 1. Unfortunately, this suggestion isn't viable due to the fact that it conflicts with other input sequences such as Fox's ledge dash. That raises the question of whether or not something can be done. I'll start by confirming that something can be done. However, my solution doesn't involve nerfing the box. Before I go any further, I want to address a consistent problem within these discussions. In 2017, a lot of people were quick to say the box is unfair because it can dash back 100% of the time. But after looking into dashback further, the community realized how flawed dashback was on the Gamecube controller. Vanilla Melee's dashback mechanic works by requiring you to skip from the dead zone to dash in a single frame, which can't be done consistently due to polling. Since this mechanic is uncompetitive, the community agreed to bump dashback to a 2-frame window. This means that people jumped the gun in thinking that the box was the problem, as fixing Gamecube controllers caused them to tie the box in the process. Today, I'm going to show you why SDI is identical in terms of the issue being rooted in the Gamecube controller. Once a software fix is given to SDI, the box's advantage will disappear here as well. On January 3rd, I released a detailed comparison of box SDI versus Gamecube controller SDI. To recap that video, the box's first SDI is at an advantage due to the fact that it's guaranteed to receive a value of 1.0, whereas the Gamecube controller can be pulled earlier on. From there, the box is at an advantage on its second SDI as well due to the fact that it comes out faster. At the end of my SDI video, I alluded to a solution that would help equalize these controllers without causing collateral damage. The solution has to do with the first SDI input, which is problematic on the Gamecube controller. Just like dashback, there are issues with this SDI input that should be fixed regardless of the box's existence. This is especially true given that SDI can swing certain interactions, and so it needs to be consistent. Once you know how luck-based SDI really is, it'll be hard to believe that it worked this way the entire time. The first aspect of SDI that warrants a software fix is the way SDI works on frame 2 of hit lag. There's a luck mechanic on frame 2 specifically that can cause you to miss your SDI completely. The luck mechanic exists due to the frame that comes before this one. Melee doesn't let you SDI on frame 1 of hit lag. However, what happens on frame 1 is still relevant to what will happen on frame 2. The way these two frames of hit lag work is that if your analog stick is in the dead zone on frame 1, then SDI can occur on frame 2 just fine. However, if your analog stick is in the x-axis on frame 1, then SDI can't occur on frame 2. Here's a demonstration showing that SDI won't work in this situation. Believe it or not, the problem I just showed you is identical to the dashback dilemma. Wiggle out of tumble suffers from this issue as well. The only difference between SDI and these two mechanics is that its cutoff point is 0.7 rather than 0.8, but other than that, the dilemma is identical. This means that the Melee community's software mod has to fix SDI in principle. The way to do this is to make it so that if you're pulled in the x-axis range that comes before SDI on frame 1 of hit lag, a frame 2 input is still valid. The significance of this fix is that it unlocks the ability to count on a frame 2 SDI input working, which makes a huge difference for small SDI windows. Fox's first hit of up air, for example, normally only gives you 2 reliable frames to SDI, but this fix increases the window to 3. The second SDI fix is what I call the remainder fix. The remainder fix addresses yet another problem with SDI, which is the fact that the best value isn't guaranteed even if you make it past the frame 2 hit lag issue. This is because it's possible for the Gamecube controller to be pulled as early as 0.7 within the SDI range, at which point an SDI will be performed. It's undesirable to receive an early SDI input because this effectively blocks the rest of your analog stick's travel route from being counted. 0.7 SDI, for example, results in 4.2 units traveled, whereas 1.0 would have resulted in 6 units. Unfortunately, there's no way to prevent the Gamecube controller from being subject to earlier pulls on vanilla Melee. The way to fix this issue is to apply the remainder fix. The remainder fix works by making it so that if you're in hit lag on the frame that comes after your first SDI frame, the remainder counts for SDI as well. Assuming your analog stick is moving at a reasonable speed, you'll always reach the rim by this frame. This will cause your SDI to total the best value. The remainder fix can be seen in action in this clip of Falcon's 0.7 SDI being followed by an SDI of 0.3, which allows him to escape Fox's second hit of up air. I'm excited to announce that both of the fixes I just described have been added to 1.03 version B3. This rounds out the 1.03 controller fix with a total of 6 fixes. I currently believe these 6 fixes to be the final version of UCF that the community should adopt. As you can see, I'm of the belief that UCF is quite a ways away from completion. 2 of 1.03's fixes are polished from UCF's, and 3 of its fixes are newly added. These fixes all aid the Gamecube controller in areas that lack competitive integrity. As I promised at the beginning of the video, the initial concerns with box SDI would be forgotten as we went along, as the Gamecube controller deserves to be fixed regardless. Although there are still differences between the second SDI inputs on these two controller types, equalizing the first input is a huge deal. Other than that, I should mention that these SDI fixes are beneficial to the metagame for other reasons. The character who's negatively affected by SDI the most is Fox, and so these changes are good from a game balance perspective. Finally, there's still one more video coming in my series on controller legality. I've saved something fully unexpected for last, so make sure to be here when that video goes up. Subscriptions are much appreciated if you enjoy this type of Melee content.